These are the only exercises you need to stay strong even after 50 years old. Have you noticed how time seems to accelerate after 50? The body responds differently. Strength is no longer the same. Breath becomes shorter. Muscles seem less firm, less responsive, and even though the mind remains as sharp as ever, the real danger lies in acceptance, in the belief that this is just how it is, that it's part of aging, that there's no way around it. It's in this silent resignation where the true enemy lies, because when we accept that it's normal to lose strength, endurance, and mobility, we stop doing what could reverse this process. Yes, this process is reversible. And the best part, by performing just a few simple exercises that don't require a gym, are completely adaptable to your current condition, even if you've never exercised before. Today, I won't just show you the exercises, but also teach you how to adapt them to your current level, how to progress safely, and share a complete weekly routine for you to implement in your life. But before we begin, please leave in the comments your name and the city from where you're watching our content. Exercise 3, push-ups. I know you might be thinking something like, oh, the same exercise as always. But believe me, few movements in the history of physical training have the effectiveness of the push-up. This ancient exercise continues to be one of the most efficient ways to strengthen the upper body without needing absolutely any equipment. The push-up primarily works the chest, triceps, and shoulders fundamental muscles for practically any movement we make with our arms in daily life. When you push a shopping cart, lift a heavy pot, or need to get up after a fall, these are the muscles that come into action. But beyond these, the push-up also engages the core, that set of muscles that surrounds the entire central region of the body, including abdomen, lower back, and even the glutes. A strong core means better posture, less back pain, and greater overall stability. The basic form is simple to understand. You place your hands and feet on the floor, keep your body straight like a board, and bend and straighten your elbows. But within this simplicity exists a world of nuances that make all the difference. Now let's talk about adaptations, because this is a crucial point for those who are resuming or starting physical activity after 50. The traditional push-up with the body extended and supported only on hands and feet can be very challenging initially, and that's perfectly fine. True wisdom lies in respecting your starting point and building from there. For beginners, I recommend wall push-ups. Stand about an arm's length away from a wall. Place your palms at shoulder height, and simply bend your elbows, bringing your chest toward the wall. Then push back. This movement activates the same muscles as the traditional push-up, but with a fraction of the load. It's perfect for building initial strength and, most importantly, for learning the correct movement pattern. As this version becomes easy, and believe me, this will happen faster than you imagine, you can progress to the inclined push-up. Instead of the wall, you can use a table, a counter, the back of a sofa, or any stable surface that is at waist height or slightly below. The principle is the same. Hands supported, straight body, bend and extend the elbows. The lower the support, the greater the challenge. Eventually, you can move on to push-ups with knees on the floor. This is an excellent transition before the full push-up, significantly reducing the load, but still providing effective stimulation for the muscles. And when the traditional push-up becomes part of your routine and starts to seem easier, then we have progressions like the declined push-up, where the feet are elevated in relation to the hands. This variation transfers more weight to the upper body, intensifying the work in the chest and shoulder muscles. But just as important as knowing the variations is executing the movement correctly. Regardless of the version you choose, some principles are universal. Always try to keep your body in a straight line from head to heels or to knees. In the case of the modified version, don't let your hips drop or rise. This neutral spine posture is crucial not only for the effectiveness of the exercise, but mainly for the safety of your back. The elbows should not open excessively to the sides. Imagine them forming an angle of about 45 degrees with your body. This protects your shoulders and better directs the work to the chest muscles. Breathing also deserves attention. Inhale on the way down and exhale on the way up, using air as an ally to generate more strength, and don't rush. Controlled movements are always superior to hurried and careless repetitions. A common mistake, especially when we start to get tired, is to let the head move forward ahead of the body. Keep your gaze directed slightly in front of your hands so that your neck remains aligned with your spine. As for the ideal quantity, start with what is challenging but achievable. Perhaps only 5 repetitions per set of the wall version, or maybe you can already do 10 push-ups with knees supported. The important thing is to find that point of productive challenge where you feel the effort but can maintain correct technique. Rest about 60 to 90 seconds between sets or more if necessary. With consistency, you'll feel that gratifying sensation of progress. Suddenly, those first 5 difficult repetitions transform into 10, then 12, and then you're ready for the next variation, a new challenge. If the push-up is the king of exercises for the upper body, let's now talk about the king of exercises for the lower body. Exercise 2, squats. If there's a movement that directly reflects our autonomy in daily life, that movement is the squat. Think about it. How many times do you sit down and get up from a chair, a sofa, or a toilet? How many times do you need to pick up something that fell on the floor? This movement, so fundamental to our independence, is exactly what begins to become compromised with advancing age unless we do something about it. When you perform a squat, you're recruiting at the same time the largest muscle groups in your body: quadriceps, hamstrings, glutes, and deep core muscles. This massive activation of muscle fibers generates a potent metabolic stimulus. In other words, you burn many calories and improve your body composition. But the benefits go far beyond aesthetics or calorie expenditure. Squatting strengthens the knee and hip joints, improving their stability. It works on the flexibility of the lower body, something that tends to decrease drastically with age. And perhaps most importantly for those over 50, it stimulates the natural production of anabolic hormones in the body, those responsible for maintaining and growing muscle. Sarcopenia, the technical name for age-related muscle loss, is one of the main reasons why elderly people lose mobility and independence. The squat is a powerful weapon against this process, preserving not only strength but also bone density, another crucial factor for healthy aging. The squat is essentially the act of bending the knees and hips to lower the body toward the floor and then returning to the starting position. It seems simple, and in essence, it is. But just like with push-ups, the squat has several versions that can be adapted to your current level of conditioning. If you're resuming physical activity after many years, start with the assisted squat. Use a stable support like the back of a sturdy chair to help maintain balance as you go down and up. The movement should be controlled, unhurried. As your confidence and strength increase, you can progress to the free squat without support. And eventually, to increase the challenge, you can incorporate elements like holding light weights. Water bottles are great to start with, or just increasing the number of repetitions is already a way to progress. A particularly gentle variation for those with knee problems is the partial squat, where you go down only as far as is comfortable without necessarily reaching the position of thighs parallel to the floor. With time and as mobility and strength improve, you will naturally be able to increase the range. As for proper execution, some points are essential. Your feet should be approximately shoulder width, the part with toes pointing slightly outward. As you descend, imagine you're sitting in a chair that's right behind you. This helps move the hips backward, protecting the knees. Keep your chest lifted and spine in its natural curve, neither excessively arched nor completely straight. The knees should follow the direction of the toes without collapsing inward. If this happens, it's a sign that you need to strengthen the hip stabilizer muscles, something that the squat itself will help resolve over time. A very common mistake is letting the heels lift off the floor during the movement. This usually indicates a lack of flexibility in the ankles and unbalances the entire exercise. If you notice this happening, you can place a small support like a folded towel under your heels while working in parallel on ankle mobility. Inhale as you descend, expanding your abdomen, and exhale forcefully as you rise, especially in the most difficult part of the movement. This technique, called diaphragmatic breathing, not only provides more oxygen to the muscles, but also helps stabilize the spine. The squat allows a slightly larger volume than the push-up since the leg muscles are naturally more resistant to fatigue. For beginners over 50 years old, 2 to 3 sets of 10 to 15 repetitions is an excellent starting point. As your endurance increases, you can progress to 3 to 4 sets. The rest time between sets can be 90 to 180 seconds depending on your cardiovascular condition. Don't be surprised if you feel your heart racing and your breathing more intense after a set of squats, needing a longer rest. This is normal, and in fact is part of the benefit of this exercise for cardiorespiratory health. With regular practice, you'll notice not only an increase in leg strength, but a significant improvement in daily activities such as climbing stairs or getting up from low seats. It's as if the body remembers how to move efficiently and confidently. By integrating the squat with our first exercise, the push-up, we're already working a large part of the body's musculature. But an essential element is missing, the strengthening of the central region, the core. But before we continue to the exercise that will work this important part, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Having constant access to correct and science-based information is what will help you continuously improve your body without risk of injury. Exercise 1. Planks. First, you need to know that the core is not just the six-pack that appears in magazines. It's a complex system that includes deep abdominal muscles such as the transverse abdominis, the oblique muscles, the musculature of the lumbar region, the diaphragm, and even components of the hip muscles. This system works together to support the spine, transfer force between the upper and lower body, and allow safe movements in all directions. With aging, the loss of tone in these deep muscles is directly related to problems such as chronic lower back pain, balance difficulties, and even urinary incontinence. The plank helps reverse this loss, strengthening these fundamental muscles. It teaches the body to resist movement, to stabilize the spine in its neutral position. And this ability, my friend, is absolutely fundamental for the health of your spine and for injury prevention. The benefits of the plank go far beyond a stronger abdomen. You will notice improvements in general posture, reduction of back pain, greater ease in daily activities that require stability, and even in the efficiency of other exercises such as the push-up and squat we've already discussed. The basic version of the plank is performed in a 4-point position as if you were going to do a push-up, but supporting your forearms on the floor instead of your hands. The elbows are directly below the shoulders, feet hip-width apart, and the body forms a straight line from head to heels. Sounds easy. Try maintaining this position for 30 seconds and then we'll talk. But just like with other exercises, we have fantastic adaptations for beginners. The plank can be done with knees on the floor, significantly reducing the load, or even standing against a wall or a table. Similar to the adaptation we mentioned for the push-up, correct technique is essential to obtain the benefits and avoid injuries. Some key points to observe. Maintain the neutral line of the spine, neither excessively arched nor completely straight. The position should be the one you would naturally assume if you were standing with good posture. Actively engage the core. It's not enough to just be in the position. Imagine you're pulling your navel slightly toward your spine without holding your breath. This conscious activation makes all the difference. The shoulders should be relaxed away from the ears. It's common to elevate the shoulders toward the neck when we're under tension, but this diverts work from the core and can cause discomfort in the neck. Breathe steadily and in a controlled manner. The tendency is to hold the breath during isometric exercises like the plank, but this unnecessarily increases intra-abdominal pressure and impairs execution. A very common mistake is letting the hips drop toward the ground, which creates excessive curvature in the lumbar region. Another frequent error is elevating the hips. Both positions compromise the correct work of the core and can overload other structures. As for sets and repetitions, the approach for the plank is a bit different. As it's an isometric exercise, we work with time instead of repetitions. For beginners, 3 sets of 10 to 20 seconds with rest of 45 to 75 seconds between them is a good start. As your endurance increases, you can increase the time of each set to 30, 45, 60 seconds. Organizing these 3 exercises in an efficient weekly routine is the key to obtaining consistent results without overloading the body. After 50, muscle recovery tends to be a bit slower, and we need to respect this rhythm to avoid injuries and ensure progress. The ideal is to perform each exercise 2 to 3 times a week, allowing at least 48 hours of recovery between sessions that work the same muscle groups. This means we can create a training routine on alternate days, or if you prefer to train on consecutive days, alternate the focus of the exercises. Here's a suggestion for a weekly routine that balances effort and recovery. Monday, first the warm-up. 5 minutes of light walking or joint movement. Then 3 sets of push-ups in the version appropriate to your current level. Then 3 more sets of squats and 2 sets of planks with a light stretch to finish. Tuesday, active recovery day. A 20 to 30 minute walk at a moderate pace or light mobility exercises are excellent options. Wednesday, warm-ups similar to Monday. Squats, 3 sets, with the possibility of slightly increasing the number of repetitions compared to Monday. Plank, 3 sets, trying to increase the holding time a little bit. Push-ups, 2 sets. As we've already worked the core a lot with the plank, we reduce the volume of push-ups a bit. Thursday, another day of active recovery, similar to Tuesday. Consistency on these lighter days is just as important as on the more intense training days. To end the week with a golden key on Friday, start with a slightly longer warm-up, 7 to 8 minutes. Then we'll move on to something different, a circuit. This means alternating between the 3 exercises, doing 1 set of each with minimal rest between them, and then repeating the circuit 3 times. This approach adds a cardiovascular component to the workout. Then just finish with a stretch. If you like this and want to discover beyond the plank more isometric positions that can heal and strengthen your body regardless of age, we're showing right now on the screen a video featuring the best ones for each part of the body. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today at the Prime Age Health Hub. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay strong and keep moving.